Okay.
Oh, we rolling.
Okay.
You're not rolling physically though today, are you?
Rolling on the river?
Can you answer the question instead of singing, please?
No, I have pre-rolls.
Oh, good.
Well, I mean, we all do. I didn't know if you were
I don't.
rolling a
Well,
blunt
Frank
today.
doesn't.
I don't.
No.
I'm Frank.
I'm Brandon.
I'm Jesse.
This Crown Canon? Can
For
we
sure.
just do that?
Yeah,
Get
we're
out the
at
way?
we're at the Chronic Canon right now.
Is the Chronic Canon a location, an event? What is the Chronic Canon?
It's a podcast.
Oh,
Podcast. Dude, literally how? Literally how do you, of all of us, fuck this up more than anyone?
I'm writing it on every page now in my little notebook.
Swear to God.
Podcast.
this is a podcast.
Did you just say postcast?
Pot.
Okay, I thought I heard postcast. I'm like, what is going on?
could
Should we
become
do
a
our vocal
pasta
warm up
cast.
on mic for everyone at the end? I think so.
What, the warm-up?
Yes.
No, but that's a special thing
warm-up.
for us.
Fine.
It can be a just three boys sort of thing.
Just
Yeah.
three boys living
Should
in
I
a
burp
house.
on or off mic? How does that work?
How are we supposed to record
Try
a circle
off.
jerk on mic? Like, that just doesn't... I mean, it's a good warm-up, but...
So this weekend.
You ever heard of ASMR?
What was this weekend?
Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
I've heard of ASMR.
Well, he said how we're gonna all circle jerk.
No one
Oh,
wants
my.
to listen to
Just the
Circle
qui-
Jerk
just the
ASMR.
qui-
Nobody.
Are you sure?
I mean, there probably are people, but I don't know them.
All right. So this weekend, Frank. That's the sound of the circle
That's
jerk.
the sound of
by the way.
circle jerk. this,
Good work.
this weekend.
I hope you're still listening, whoever you are.
Oh, they are. If you're here already, you ain't gone nowhere, right?
Yeah.
And that's when they leave.
All right.
Right.
If you don't like Heat, leave now.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, that's fine. But if you actively don't like it,
Get the fuck up.
go away.
Or in under 30 minutes flat.
Or the butterfly effect. Are we
10
doing
seconds flat.
No, I thought it was 30 seconds.
This?
10. 30?
10?
Is it 30?
Dude, if I'm about to correct you on some heat shit,
Let's fucking bet on this. What's going on?
let's fucking bet on
Let's
this.
fuck-
I think it's 30.
Under 30 seconds flat.
Hold on. You guys got a vamp
Yeah, okay.
while I'm looking.
Well, hold on. You're the one that had something
have
going
a
on this
thing.
weekend.
I know I have a
you
thing.
have our.
It's 30
prompt.
seconds flat. 30 seconds flat.
I knew that. I knew that.
Ah, a good prompt.
Quick
we
question.
will use
Wait,
the quote.
Is
What?
that a movie?
Heat.
30. Oh,
Yeah,
It's the quote
What
from
you're
Heat.
afraid, what you're willing to
yeah,
leave.
yeah,
30
yeah.
seconds flat.
Yeah.
Well,
Can't
that
catch a guy in the middle
helps
quote.
the prompt.
Yes.
This weekend, had a fun thing thrown at me. I
What
think my
was that?
dad found it on Twitter. A sentence I don't
Your
like.
dad is on Twitter?
Let's not talk about
And
it.
I don't follow him?
any more than this.
I can
Give me his
follow.
that-
Stop.
All right.
No more. For his sake, he's probably pissed I'm doing this.
Okay.
Regardless,
That's right. Your dad
It's
listens.
adding-
What's up?
it's adding a quote, another phrase at the end of famous movie quotes. So, don't let yourself get attached to anything you're not willing to walk out in 30 seconds or flat if you feel the heat around the corner. You piece of shit.
What's the
You just-
piece of shit? Just
you add
adding
you
an
piece
expletive?
of shit to any famous quote makes it 10 times funnier. You
We
talking
need a
to
bigger
me,
boat, you piece of shit.
You talking to me? You piece of shit. And it works for everything.
I need to find my son, Nemo. You piece of shit.
I could have saved one more, you piece of shit.
I thought of that and I didn't say it because I was like, are they going to
mean,
get the
it's not-
Schindler's List?
it's not okay.
fine.
Solidarity. You piece of shit.
We can't scream on mic.
Aw.
Nobody wants to hear
right,
that. Sorry, everyone.
Fucking Hoffa would like to hear it. Fuck you.
He would like to hear
Yeah, well, Hoffa's dead, so roll credits.
one more. Franklin, my dear, I don't give a shit. That's altering too much.
How do I stare at a shelf of Blu-rays full of movies that I love and can't think of like one quote from any of them? That's the pressure for you.
Elio.
You piece,
Piece
of
of
shit.
shit.
Oliver. You piece of shit.
Accurate.
Holy shit, I'm gonna come. You piece of shit.
That's uncut gems.
I
not
saw,
the porno
speaking of
earlier.
another tweet, I saw a separate tweet of that, which was that line from Uncut Gems, but it's goofy. Holy shit, I'm gonna come.
I'm so sorry to anybody that had to just.
I mean, hey, if they haven't been
That was
exposed
awesome.
to Goofy playing Howie, that's the gem.
I know when my Howie bling.
To end this whole piece of shit fiasco.
Yes.
I will quote it with one of the better movies of all time. In that moonlight, boy turned blue. You piece of shit. I love.
Don't disrespect.
The real-
Like that.
Moonlight.
Okay, the real last one from all of us. I'm a fiend for mojitos. You piece of shit.
Perfect.
There you go. All right.
My cousin's a harbor master in Cuba. You piece of shit. Now, new idea for a podcast. Only Miami Vice quotes.
Followed by
of
you
shit.
piece of shit.
It would work at the end of her whole monologue when she's like, "I'm gonna put a bullet through your medulla oblongata," or
Oh
whatever
my
she says.
god! Still to this day, just hearing it sends my chair flying back.
Just
So
add
good.
you piece of shit.
Only
before
2
she
movies
blows
have
them
ever
away.
made me stand up.
Only you get dead.
What's the other?
Huh?
Zodiac.
the other?
Oh, Zodiac. When
You stood?
when Jake Gyllenhaal walks into that hardware store, I stood up and said, "Cut the black, cut the black, cut the black." They didn't, but it was still intense. You
faded.
don't remember me standing
No,
up?
I remember you standing on the couch. That was pretty remarkable. But I felt bad because I knew it wasn't going to cut the black. After this. It's like, oh, I know you're feeling it. I know you want it, but unfortunately, it does not go your way on this one. However, you do get to see a McPoy also.
Soil rules.
I was gonna say you could also do the whole, what's it called, door to door. That's less than 50 yards. Like, how do you know? I've walked it. You piece of shit. Okay, back the Chronic Canon. Hello,
Chronic Canon podcast.
Podcast.
about movies and weed. Actually, it's not really about weed. We just smoke it.
We
and I
smoke
guess
it
that's
while we
the-
watch movies and while we talk about them.
And that's the end. That's our niche.
Yes.
Niche?
That's no.
Niche?
It's our niche.
It's our niche.
Yeah. I mean,
But
you can
our-
say
our
any.
niche.
You can say any of them.
Our niche, if you will.
Our Frederick Nietzsche.
Nietzsche.
Perfect. All right, we made
Is that
it.
a director, boy?
No, Friedrich Nietzsche is a philosopher. Yeah. Okay. I haven't read any of his stuff personally.
Communist, I'm 99% sure.
At least Russian.
Sounds like the guy who.
Yes.
At least he was at least Russian. I'm Jesse.
I'm Brandon.
And I'm Frank, and Friedrich Nietzsche was German.
Woof. That makes me look real bad.
And he was dead in the year 1900, so probably not a full-blown communist.
Yeah, communism didn't exist. Could have been a Marxist.
I'm not reading this right now.
Why are we going to try and act like we know anything about this?
Became associated
I-
with fascism and Nazism, his work.
No shit.
No, that's what the Wikipedia says.
Yeah.
Just so you know, any official research we report was probably found on Wikipedia. So.
Hey,
It's the fastest- it's the fastest way.
We know you use it. Don't pretend
a
you
notable
don't.
source now.
This is the Chronic Canon. I'm Frank.
Brandon.
I'm Jesse.
There's the voices again. And we talk about movies and not really weed. But today, we're going to talk about Martin Scorsese.
As always.
Our
Well,
main man Scorsese.
As always for now.
2 episodes consistently.
Back to
Thus
about-
far.
23 more to go.
Yeah.
We're going to do all his movies week by week. Watch them.
In chronological order.
Talk about them in chronological order. Only the feature films, narrative features. No docs
Yeah.
for now.
And
Maybe later.
we
Who
will
knows?
inevitably get to the ultimate
Perhaps.
question. Does this particular film enter the Chronic Canon? Our Chronic Canon.
We are the
You can
Chronic
have your
Canon.
own. We are the
We
Chronic Canon.
are.
But I encourage everyone to have their own Chronic Canon.
True.
The
Because
Chronic-
Build your own.
what does it mean? We
Yeah.
don't know.
We're kind of like Build-A-Bear. But
Yeah.
with movies and weed.
Build
Yeah.
a canon.
Hopefully it'll get more
A
like
chronic one.
specific
not
over
a
time.
weapon.
Maybe. We're figuring
Well,
this out.
you know, it's the
Three
baby
mo-
stages.
a movie all three of us love.
You want to fucking
Yes.
baby
Well,
to dress
not
itself?
necessarily. Oh, like in the Chronic Canon, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. I thought that you meant
It should
that
be-
always
it
had to be
should-
something we covered because today we're not covering a movie we love.
No.
So I
We
was
should,
like, oh man, that would be more fun.
For the record, we've already mentioned several movies we love.
That's
But
true.
we're
Well, we
just
get
not
to
gonna
talk about them, but
them
not at length.
extensively.
This week, we are covering Martin Scorsese's second narrative feature film. Was it his first venture through a studio? Because this is what, Warner Brothers, or who did this?
That sounds right, but I guess I'll check the.
I can't
fucking
even remember. Here's
Wikipedia.
okay. So just again.
No, American International Pictures.
Oh yeah, so that's Corman's company, right?
I believe,
Roger Corman.
I believe so, because he.
Well, it was his wife who had something to do with this. I thought, from what I read.
Who is Roger
Just at
Corman's
the
wife?
listener's discretion, anything Jesse, have to say about this is all like, did I read that? Did I hear that? Did I see that movie? You know, in
You
reference to
cannot-
Boxcar Bertha,
you
because
cannot
I
credit
feel
Jesse.
like I don't. You can give me credit in that I'm actually physically speaking aloud, but to what I'm saying, I'm not sure if you can apply merit. No, I'm gonna ask a lot of questions. Anyway, what are you looking at? Frank's looking off at Brandon as if something is going on.
Have you
I was
found something?
gonna say something.
Oh,
No.
All right,
Well, I guess I'm always ready to say something if you want me to. But
I did.
about this particular topic, no. Oh, I asked who that dude's wife was.
who's dude?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Roger
dude,
Corman.
Yeah.
Well, I don't.
His
Well, I think that
production
she
company
was
is American International.
okay. Yeah,
I figured that out. And he was born in Detroit.
I think that this
Roger?
was Roger Corman. I did not know that actually.
Me neither.
Good for him.
This white-
1926. He's fucking alive?
Yeah, Roger Corman's still kicking. I think he's still producing
damn
movies.
near 100.
93. Jesus.
He's still making movies.
Calm down, Roger. You're allowed to relax.
That's what he does. He loves it.
I mean,
he's
is
a
he
soldier
just
of cinema.
An executive producer? Does he just pay for these movies?
Roger Corman, I don't know fucking anything about actually. I just know he somehow ushered in a lot of filmmakers who became very successful. He was proficient, like a B-movie director.
Well, he was like-
worked for the cheap, and he was like a teacher and a producer about just like get the movie done.
He is the McDonald's of the movie industry, basically, right? Well, not in that big business corporate
That's all
sense,
I know.
but in the sense that that's everyone's first job is Corman.
Is
At the
Corman?
time, yeah. Like, basically all the big, like, American filmmakers anyway worked with Corman. And it's funny given...
George Lucas?
Corman made movies of his own, like he was a director, but all the stuff that he made was like low budget horror for the most part, really schlocky stuff. And ironically, I always thought it was hilarious. But again, I am not very familiar with Corman's work nor his like history in extensive detail. Everything is very vague, but I do know that he is largely responsible for bringing Bergman's movies over.
And who is Ingmar Bergman?
He is one of the most important filmmakers to ever live.
Okay. Is that
That's-
opinion or is that fact?
That's an objective fact.
Okay.
Because I think that that's mostly responsible, or Seven Seals mostly responsible for that in terms of history.
For what?
Ingmar Bergman's significance to history, like as objective fact, as opposed to, yeah, if you like him, he changed the game.
Which one is it? Bird or Berg?
Berg.
B-E-R-G.
Bergman had his movie produced by this Roger guy?
More like distributed. So imagine A24 picking up a movie and distributing it, as opposed to
They didn't like
actually
that.
funneling money to get it produced. Like Ingmar Bergman funded Cries and Whispers entirely by himself.
Like the distributing of it,
Yes,
not the movie.
not the movie.
Got it. And Bergman and
No,
Roger-
Bergman funded the movie.
Right.
Corman distributed.
Only in America, though.
Only in America.
Were Bergman and this Roger guy friends?
Yes, actually. That I do know. They communicated a lot, at least via like letters and stuff. I'm pretty sure Corman had written him a few times saying how much he admired his work and things like that.
That's
And again, is responsible for bringing his movies overseas to us,
So,
I
would
think.
you say Bergman was famous, or was it something like a after sort of
He
deal?
was huge
Oh.
by that point. Like, known.
By Cries and Whispers?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Yes, he's like one of the biggest directors in the world. But I think like around then too, didn't he start like slumming like financially or some shit? Or is that when he left Sweden?
Well, no, because
Solid.
Cries and
Why are
Whispers...
we
left
Well,
Sweden?
last thing about Ingmar Bergman, everybody.
Yeah,
we're
please.
real sorry, because we've already brought up Boxcar Bertha, and we'll get back to Boxcar Bertha. But honestly, just
There's
another
Bergman-y things
nomenclature...
and Who's That Knocking at My Door?
Oh, the end sex scene.
Yeah,
that
that's
montage
Bergman.
stuff. It's very Bergman-esque. But
That stuff.
but what was I saying? Oh yeah, Cries and Whispers. I think for the most part, other than Scenes from a Marriage, actually, now that I'm thinking
yeah.
about it, and Autumn Sonata, if you count that. But I think that Cries and Whispers and Scenes from a Marriage are like his two biggest projects from the 70s. That, or like as far as success is concerned, because like The Touch came out in the 70s.
What was right before
The Magic
Cries and
Flute.
Whispers? We need to not dive into this right now.
Right before Cries and Whispers. Passion of Anna.
When did he leave Sweden?
God, I don't even know.
What I really enjoy is how you both have said we got to get off of this and have not gotten
I'm
off
sorry.
of
You're
it.
right. You're right.
I love talking about Ingmar Bergman, man.
I don't know who this
All right.
bird dude is.
We're gonna roll it back. Just a fun last comment about Corman that I think summarizes the idea we were trying to get at concisely. From 1954 through 2008, most of these as an uncredited producer or executive producer, he directed 55 films and produced 385 films
Yowza.
Wow,
in 54 years.
that's insane.
It's about the output, was the mentality. Marty was a dude he picked up because he liked his first film.
Well,
From what I
Martin
understand.
Scorsese, I'm pretty sure, also worked as an editor or like something on Woodstock and
Yeah,
a couple other
yeah.
things.
Which obviously
Marty
got
had
him
been
even more in the door.
Doing some stuff.
Yeah.
He was around at that time.
I think, didn't he shoot someone Woodstock too, or did he just edit it?
I think he may have worked as a camera guy. You'd have to look. This is all
I'm not.
information that like I heard at one point as fact, and then the fact has only become like bits and pieces since then.
Same.
Right.
But anyway, to Boxcar Bertha.
It's not a Scorsese like passion project, like Who's That Knocking at My Door.
Well, the thing I want to just get out of the way mostly is that both Who's That Knocking at My Door and Boxcar Bertha are easily the worst things Scorsese has ever done
By like
as a director.
3,000 miles.
I wouldn't doubt that.
I do
And
think
I haven't even seen a lot of Scorsese.
I do think that Boxcar Bertha is worse upon
Same.
the reflection, especially given that, like, you know, I think there's more value just intrinsically to Who's That Knocking at My Door because you can see the elements that Scorsese will inevitably play with. There is more personality that comes directly from him and Who's That Knocking at My Door. Whereas, I mean, like, obviously there's little things that you could maybe go, but it feels like reaching as opposed to like that definitely has Scorsese's name on it. Yeah. It doesn't feel like his movie at all. Like if I had not known that that was his movie going in, I would have never walked out being like, oh, that was clearly a Scorsese film.
I will say, looking, having seen, not that many Scorsese, but having seen the bookends, Who's That Knocking at My Door and The Irishman,
yes,
you can see that it's the same guy. Even though I don't have much frame of reference, like I can tell that that's Martin Scorsese's first attempt at something, just like I can tell The Irishman is Martin Scorsese's most recent attempt at something.
Yes.
But disclaimer, just so you know, the cat's out of the bag. I ain't fucking see this movie.
Real quick, I also wanted to point out now that you mentioned that I don't think we got into how we like structure our recording / watching of these movies together.
We talked about doing them chronologically.
Well, no, that we like week to week basis.
Sure.
Like right now, we're recording this podcast about Boxcar Bertha, and then as soon as we're done with this, we're going to go downstairs and watch Mean Streets. And then the following week, we will get together, discuss Mean Streets, and then immediately after that, watch Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore.
Right.
So so on and so forth for the rest of the canon.
If you gather the evidence, if you look at the numbers, you'll be able to track when and where we recorded this podcast.
The where is the same.
Yeah.
As far as they know.
Yeah, right. Anyway, so with that said, last week, if you couldn't tell based on our tone and pace at the end of the podcast, in the last episode, we were all getting pretty tired. And by the time we got downstairs to watch Boxcar Bertha, and it was so clearly not going to be good within its first few minutes, Brandon checked out.
I'd argue just real fast that the first 10 minutes were at least somewhat interesting, but it quickly derailed.
Okay, we'll get into that.
I have a problem. I do fall asleep a lot when watching films, but I do stand by every great movie or good movie that I've seen keeps your brother up.
The fact that you sat through Zodiac after 7:30 at night and not once seemed to doze off or anything goes to show.
A captivating movie is a captivating movie.
I was in it to win it. We fucking saw The Irishman at 8 o'clock on a Sunday when I had to be at work the next
I can't
day.
believe you did that now looking back. You're right.
And it was great. Got out at 11 and I was like, run it back.
I would like to argue you were up for, I'm pretty sure, at least 95% of Who's That Knocking at My Door.
Oh, yeah.
If not 100.
I
think you dozed for 2 minutes.
Towards the end, too. You made it through easily the first hour.
I was napping, for sure, but I definitely retained more of Who's That Knocking at My Door. Yeah. As much as that shit movie can be, retained.
Well, how much of Boxcar Bertha did you watch? You were not out that quick.
See, I don't remember the beginning, but I know that I was conscious for it. It's towards, the meaty middle where I'm starting to
we'll see what's
fade out.
I'm pretty positive.
I hit the plot points when we were talking about it. I remembered all the things that Wikipedia says per se.
But I'm in the same boat, and I was awake and paying mostly attention for all of it. But at the same time, I couldn't have told you until Frank read beat for beat what happened.
There was no beat for beat. That's the other thing.
Well, no. But I mean, even when we talked about it before Frank read us the Wikipedia page.
Yeah, and there's
prior.
2 sentences.
Yeah,
very much.
But that explains that this is a nothing movie.
Yeah,
and I was gonna say there was 3
There's only one specific sequence in this that I'm like, oh, Jesus, and I air quoted, this is a Marty thing, maybe. But I mean, if that was in the script. But okay, so
sure, ended that way.
Real quick, Boxcar Bertha was based on a true story, right?
Was it?
I think it was. I'm pretty positive that it was. And that's something that I was going to ask questions about, going forward. So if it's not, I just want to know.
A pseudo-autobiographical account of the fictional character Bertha Thompson?
The fictional character?
So
is it a fictional character? It might be one of those situations, a fictional character representing multiple people that actually existed or something, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
I'm gonna just say
thought
yeah.
it was like a off Bonnie and Clyde, like a bad Bonnie.
I mean,
and Clyde.
it is.
Well, it definitely seemed to be running off the steam that Bonnie and Clyde started.
Yeah, it's only. Oh, I mean, it is 5 years after Bonnie and Clyde. But still.
1967 to what?
72.
It was 72?
That is
So wait,
sad.
how many years
Same
is that
year as
between
the fucking Godfather?
67?
That is
So that's 5 years between.
sad.
So that's a 5-year gap between Who's That Knocking at My Door and Bertha?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we talked about that. Who's That Knocking on My Door came out the same year as Bonnie and Clyde.
Wow.
And The fucking Graduate. Like, just, Jesus, the echelon of filmmaking
And
is
that-
so
yeah.
crazily different.
I know.
Anyway, all it says is it's a loose adaptation of Sister of the Road, a pseudo-autobiographical account of the fictional character Bertha Thompson, written by Ben L. Reitman. And there's no page for Sister of the Road. When you click it, it takes it to the author's page.
Interesting.
So
I think
don't-
autobiographical
Maybe just
means
Google it.
you're telling your own story, so I think it's
But
fictional.
it's so he's doing his experience into this fake person named Bertha.
Maybe.
Is that?
It says pseudo-autobiographical, though.
That'd be weird.
I'm not getting into it.
All right,
It doesn't
anyway.
matter.
Regardless.
It's a stupid movie.
Well, if that's how gray the possibility of it being true are, that just makes it even less interesting.
I'd say for credibility's sake, you definitely watched at least 20, maybe even 30 minutes, and then you'd wake up for short bursts, pass out, and you're definitely up for the end. Like you said, Jesse, you were even
definitely for the
awake and remembered just about as much because not much happens in this movie. But
Well, see, the thing
you
is,
and I
is
were both checking our phones and disengaging through portions, but we're definitely up.
I
and
started
watching.
prepping my kitchen for cooking after
I
towards
told-
the end.
I told
turning on the
Brandon-
oven and the stove, warming up everything.
Brandon was gonna watch it,
Yeah.
and I said, "Listen, as a person who sat there the whole time, even though I was just as disengaged through a lot of it, you missed nothing.
Yeah.
You do not need to watch
Well,
this. We'll be able to still fucking talk about it, and you probably saw 30 minutes total of movie,
Yeah.
including the ending." Right? You woke up for that ending because it
Well,
was
only
insane.
because Frank and I started screaming.
it
Like
was
it
just
was just
like,
oh my
what the
god.
fuck?
So I guess I don't know. Beat for beat, the movie opens up with.
I'm not doing a beat for beat.
No?
There is no beat for beat. We can talk about the beginning, the repeating middle, and
Yeah.
then the end.
Well, take us on a little trip here because
So-
but
I.
I'm not
what
even
is-
sure
You're
what
the only.
happened.
But that's not me
You
too.
were just
You're the,
about to talk about the beginning. What happens at the beginning?
Well, all I remember about the beginning is that there's a chain gang,
Or are they just working
or
for
are
the
they just
union?
working for the union?
And they had a police
No,
escort.
they weren't.
I
They
don't
weren't a
think
chain
they-
gang, 'cause
but
they
they
weren't
looked
dressed
like
up.
one.
Yeah, they
They
definitely
were
looked
all
like
in
one.
a line, but they were.
And then the
just
cop was
hammering
watching them. And why are they just?
It looks like straight out of Cool Hand Luke or something.
Yeah. I think they're just union dudes, but it felt more like a chain gang.
Well, there's another tie into Scorsese. We got the union.
Yeah, there's a lot of union talk in
Yeah,
this
there's
movie.
definitely a lot of union talk,
sure.
and I do think that the choice of using John Carradine.
David.
No,
Wait,
John is
bad
the
guy.
father.
Yeah.
And he's in Stagecoach and probably a few other
Right. And he
early
was like
westerns.
the main union baddie.
Yes.
Are we the baddies? No.
Yeah.
we're
Oh,
not
wait, the
going-
baddies.
But anyway, so it opens
given
up
the-
focusing on them, and a plane all of a sudden interrupts.
So then,
Or is it what is it?
Directly next to these union workers building a railroad is Bertha,
Yes.
the titular Boxcar Bertha,
Played by
Boxcar-
Barbara Hershey. Just, I feel that's of note.
cheering
Bertha
on her dad, who's testing planes.
I thought it was crop dusting.
Yeah, but then they wanted to go back up, even though it went well. So she's just cheering him on. He lands. They're like, "Get back up there," and he's like, "Oh, I don't know about that."
Oh,
Well, no,
yeah,
because
he
he
lands.
lands because a part on his plane broke. I remember that.
Right.
And they did some shoddy fixing, but not confident
Right,
fixing.
right.
And they're like, "Go back up. We want to see it again." And he's like, I don't know." And they're like, "Fucking do it." Something like with money or something like that. I don't know. Either way, he does it.
And then he crashes.
Yeah, it explodes. He dies.
That was wild.
Oh
Yeah.
no, he doesn't. He doesn't die.
He dies.
Oh, I thought
No,
he
he dies.
ejected.
Right there.
It's
But
intense,
then-
and
but
that's
then-
the only
right there.
reason why Frank started saying that there might be some credit to give to the opening
Yeah.
10 minutes.
It was nonsense, but at least it was shot.
And also, I think
fervorously.
it's very generous saying 10 minutes because that was definitely not 10 minutes.
Sure, but even I'm just saying, okay, that had me interested, so I was at least engaged for the next 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it will get good.
Yeah, right.
It didn't.
Keep
Spoiler.
the ball
again.
rolling. But no, not really.
No.
Yeah, But this is what I don't remember. So he crashes, and then for some reason everybody starts fighting.
Yeah.
Like the union dudes start beating up the cop and the farmer, and then she's just sitting there screaming, holding her dead dad. And it was just like, what the fuck is going on? This is chaos. And then it's like, boom, Boxcar Bertha.
Yep.
And then it's a way too long montage. They did the opening credits
Oh,
twice.
yeah. Well, and they do that
Twice.
They do that classic
It's fucking stupid.
late 60s, 70s thing where they play the credits with clips from the movie that we haven't even seen yet with the actor's name and their title or their character
But
title,
it
I
like
should
did
say.
that after already doing credits for them.
I know.
It was like, what the fuck is going on? And then it's like a long montage of her just like walking boxcar to boxcar to make it confusing if how much time has passed once the movie starts. Brandon asked at least 3 times. He's like, is this like a few days later? Is this months later? Is this years later? No way to know.
They do not tell you.
God, even in talking about it, I'm realizing how little I actually remember.
Yeah, I don't remember why shit pops off when it. I don't remember why shit pops off when it does.
Yeah.
I just remember it getting a little hectic, and then she's looking inside trains.
She's living boxcar to boxcar, like right out the fucking gate. She shows up at a town where the union dudes are striking, and it just so happens to be the guy who was there when her dad died. And then they fuck in a boxcar.
In the boxcar, in some hay, and then he dips. I remember that. So
why?
When she woke up,
Why
he
are
was
there so
not
many
there.
movies in which people fucking hay? Like that's just not
Because it's what you used to do back in the day in the country.
I know.
You
Why
ever
is there
fuck
a
on the
boxcar
beach?
full of just hay?
Because of horses. What do you mean? All right,
the
that
horses.
makes sense.
Excuse the fuck me.
I'm just saying, if I saw a fucking boxcar
God.
full of hay, I'd definitely be more concerned with the people having coitus than the hay. The hay is for a purpose.
That
You can
is
fuck
David
anywhere.
Carradine.
Yes.
Okay. Just
Okay.
wanted to bring him
All
into
right.
the fold.
Let
Hold
me
on.
just. Who are the Carradines? Because you guys are talking about them like they're significant.
They're like a family of actors. They were
John
famous.
Carradine was in films like I mentioned, John Ford's Stagecoach. That's the only one I've actually seen him in, as far as I know.
I think so.
But he was a famous actor in those days, and then he had kids. David and Keith are definitely the
Keith.
two. Keith is in a movie called Nashville, which is by Robert Altman. Another movie you should definitely see.
Is that a country movie?
It-
about
it-
country?
it is.
Isn't that about country music?
It is about country
That
music.
definitely plays a part in it.
Is it the TV show Nashville based off of the movie?
No, not even a little bit.
But
not
it's
even a
about
little
country
bit.
music.
No.
Well, Nashville
My
does
favorite
prominently feature country music as like a part of its thing.
My favorite country music show is called Reba. Did you guys ever watch Reba?
I
growing
never
up?
I
never
did.
watched it
I
growing
did.
up. No.
My
You
mom
know
was a
what?
big fan.
My mom was a big fan, and it was pretty fucking good. It's pretty funny.
I mean, hey, I like The
I
King
don't
of
remember.
Queens because I watched it when I was a kid, and I
I-
believe that it's not a good show, but I do enjoy it
I
for that
didn't
reason
know
alone.
that The King of Queens was bad until like a couple months ago when people were just shitting on it, and I was like, "What?"
Why? Because because it never gotten brought up because that's just not a show that people
like,
talk about.
it's
Exactly
just some
for
shit
that
I saw
reason.
as a kid, I was just like, "This is cool."
Watched it with my grandparents. That was how I
Nice.
was introduced.
Nice.
Makes fucking sense.
Do you guys remember Reba's Dr. Pepper commercial?
No.
Taste of Dr. Pepper.
All right, but can I just make a
This
point? This is exactly why Boxcar
this movie
Bertha
sucks.
is so bad.
Listen.
That I couldn't even retain plot, in which again, I don't know if I said this last episode, just as a thing about me, Jesse,
I'm Frank.
Brandon.
that I cannot retain plots for movies on a good day generally, but I always remember how they make me feel. Like I always remember especially if it's very good. And then also if the movie's that good, generally the plot does stick. But when it's this bad and on this level, like this is 1 star bad, maybe half star bad.
I didn't even feel comfortable rating the film.
I mean, I get that. I've been there before, but to the point where now even talking about it to where I'm literally like, I can't place specific plot points as well as I thought I might be able to. However, that makes me feel uncomfortable even rating it to that extent. But I know I watched it. That's the thing that's like annoying me. My memory's not that bad, and the weed is not that strong.
No.
To completely eliminate all that stuff. But again, I can remember like the aesthetic of it was even bad. Like I don't think it was well shot at all.
It's had poor production.
And I mean, obviously, again, like I do think sometimes that, at least with me, and maybe it's not as important as I find it, but like if a movie has not been restored and just looks like absolute crap, then it makes me enjoy it less.
Well, that is definitely a you thing.
That's the case here.
that's a
too.
lot of people. That's a lot of people think.
But I don't think that even if this movie had been restored to 4K,
no.
that this would be, any better.
It's a poor production. And I was looking it up, expecting it to have a much smaller budget.
What was the budget?
At the time, it was $600,000, which in today's money, $3.6 million.
Absolutely,
which is insane.
I'm
going to always reference just because It Follows was $1 million. That's more. That's 3 It Follows.
Primer was $7,000.
My God.
Let's not even start the math there.
Primer?
$7,000. $7,000.
But it's the best time travel movie
of all time. If you ever
want to
feel like a piece of shit and you're not doing anything with your life, watch Primer. Because it just goes, oh, that's all you need? You can make this? I'm a fucking idiot. Yeah. That's the point. But for this movie, can I please just give the fast forward version of the bulk? And we can talk about the ending. And then we can just get on with it. Because people, this is not worth watching.
Absolutely.
And if you're listening fucking because you have watched, I'm sorry. Especially if you like this. This is the one Boxcar Bertha podcast that probably exists. It ain't gonna be for you, fam.
Well, but hey, also, this is why, because this isn't the first time Frank and I, and even Frank Brandon and I, have ventured down the idea of let's run down a director's filmography chronologically, which for some directors I'm totally fine with. Other directors I'm not. This is one of those directors that I would definitely say, hey, to all the folks at home, at the very least, you don't need to watch the first two.
No.
At the very least.
You literally don't.
As a person who has seen the first two now for the first time and has seen Mean Streets many times, just jump to that. If you're a completionist, I get it. Fine. Yeah. That's the only reason you should ever.
If you're looking for style, if you're looking to understand Scorsese as a director, as an auteur, start with Mean Streets.
Start with Mean Streets.
But you don't even see, but you don't even know.
He knows.
Seen it.
But
he
I
knows.
understand.
I was going to say, however, that you could give the slight edge to, I guess, Who's That Knocking at My Door for a little context, since it's there. I'm curious to know how we're going to feel about these two movies specifically by the end of this whole thing. After we've seen
no way
every
they're
movie.
not at the bottom.
I mean, I believe they're going to be at the bottom still, but I wonder if there's going to be anything else that we see in movies. There's a lot in his filmography that I still haven't seen.
Yeah,
I'm curious if there's stuff in those films that maybe ties back to these.
I don't even think I've seen a quarter of Scorsese.
We went over this last time, I believe.
Haven't you only seen 2 or 3?
Yeah.
Well, now you've seen
4, technically.
4.
3,
yes.
if we're being honest.
We'll call it 4.
What's the 4th that might not exist?
Boxcar Bertha.
Oh, no, yeah. I thought there was something else that you might not have seen.
Before
Wolf of Wall Street is the other one that you've seen.
Yeah.
Have you seen Hugo?
Hugo Scorsese?
That's Scorsese.
Isn't that animated?
No. I could see why you'd have that confusion.
Am I thinking of a different one?
It looked like the trailers and shit made it look like Tintin, and I think it came out around the same time.
Well, and it utilized a lot of that, CG 3D technology. So a lot of it's not real.
Well, I have not seen Hugo in its entirety.
Hugo's a cute little flick.
I'm excited for Hugo.
I haven't seen it since I was a kid, but Hugo, when I was young, was incredible. Yeah, teenager.
It's like 2011.
Is it a kids movie? Is it Scorsese's only kids
it's
movie?
It's the only movie I think of Scorsese's, if by and large at the very least, that I think anyone of any age could watch.
Yeah. Okay. He made it because of that. I think because he had grandkids or something, and he literally was like, I want to make a movie they can watch. It's all about
It's
movies.
like a grandpa talking about what he loves to his grandkids. It's great.
Oh my god.
It is great.
You guys just made it sound unappealing.
And
a lot of people hate it.
Only because within the last...
He plays a guy that takes a picture... He takes a picture of Méliès in the movie, like a montage. Yeah, he has a little shot. He's also...
Cute.
You'll see him in After Hours. You'll see him in Taxi Driver. And I believe he might have a little cameo in Age of Innocence. And he's in the background in the scene in Irishman where... De Niro kicks the shit out of the store owner, but you can't actually see him.
Before starting this podcast, I'd seen 15 of his 25. I promise you these two are a world worse than my least favorite, which was Shutter Island, but I'm very excited to rewatch that.
I'm curious.
But that is far away from now. Point is, Boxcar Bertha, it's trash, skip it. All that happens for the rest of the movie is a cycling set of scenes. I figured it out at some point, and I'm like, that's why I hate this. Because same scenes in the same order over and over. Yeah. Bill leaves. She's confused. She wanders. She finds a new person to get mixed up with. Then she commits a crime fucking out of desperation for some dumb situation that some dumb dude got her in. They run away. She finds Bill again. They fuck. Oh, because they're in love. They move on. They rob the union. For some reason, he leaves. The cycle repeats. That happened 3 times in the movie. He left. She did something dumb, found a new person, came back, everything was fine. More robberies, left. I was like, this is terrible. It's terrible. So boring. The same thing over and over. Bad movie. And then the ending. Because they've been robbing the Union over and over. And simultaneously, there's like 2 scenes where they show the Union still chasing them. Or it's the police. I don't remember. There's that scene in the jail where they massacre everyone. It's just like, what is this movie?
I do remember the scene in the jail where everyone's getting mowed down with the shotguns.
Except the 3 leads.
Except for the 3 people.
Yeah, it's fucking stupid. And so that...
I don't remember how the gentleman ends up in jail, though.
Me neither. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Bad movie. So then you get to the end. They finally get caught. No, Bill's blind? He wasn't blind. I just thought he was blind.
The way he was performing, he was being dramatic, like looking off. I
literally thought he had went blind. It's that bad of acting.
And on top of that, it's just like, yeah, sure. Maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, no, because then he looks at her and they hug.
No, I'm saying in the sense that, like, that could have been a thought that came to anyone. Like, yeah, maybe this movie's going to go here. Why not?
Yeah, I thought so. Because he, like, calmed down. He, like, stopped being a criminal, was living a boring life because she met up with the other guy again who was at the bar singing. It doesn't matter.
Who cares?
Literally, what the fuck?
He takes her to Bill and he's elated. Somehow the Union guys and or the police followed them, and then they're like, you know what? We're gonna kill Bill. And not only do they decide that they need to kill him, they crucify him. They crucify him. Literally nails in the wrist. Hilarious. He gets it right. Not through the hands. It's through the fucking wrist.
Yeah, because he's a real Catholic. But they don't nail his feet, right? Or his ankles or whatever.
I don't remember.
I don't know either.
I just remember the hands.
I was like out of the faith by like 6 years old, so I remember nothing.
To a boxcar, and Bertha's standing there screaming. Fucking obviously.
Yeah. That is the exact moment where I woke up, when they started hammering in his wrist.
No, and then isn't there a sort of like Umbrella's a Cherbourg style shot to end the movie where she's running at the train where it's like locked down on a shot of his body and she's slowly getting smaller because the train's getting faster.
Yes.
And she's
after their friend comes back with a shotgun and kills all the Union / policemen.
Jesus.
Do you even remember that?
Is it that's the black guy?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I remember all that.
He comes back.
He looks like Muhammad Ali for everyone who wants to know, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking the whole time.
I don't remember what he looks like.
Muhammad
that
Ali.
Sounds right. Sure.
Yeah.
I'll go with it. Muhammad.
I trust.
Barry Primus is the actor. Nope, that is a white man.
Yikes.
I was guessing. It was Bernie Casey. He isn't Bill and Ted?
What?
Excellent Adventure or Bogus Journey?
Great movie.
Speaking of Ingmar Bergman, maybe we should do a Seven Seal Bogus Journey double bill.
That would be amazing.
I think Criterion Channel actually did that.
That'd be amazing.
How do those two movies relate?
Death. It's about
the
playing
character
games
of
with death. Seven Seal, it takes place in the... We're not doing this. We'll tell you off mic.
Yep.
Okay.
Off mic. If you want to know what the Seven Seal is, look it up.
Just fucking Google it. No more telling people what movies are about that have nothing to do with Boxcar Bertha.
Oh, man.
The man comes back. He kills people. It's fucking dumb.
He mows down the Union.
He mows them down, and then she's crying, and then the train takes off somehow. How was it not before?
Yeah.
Or maybe he set it off. It doesn't matter.
The movie needed the train to go, so the train went.
So the train went. And
my head hurts trying to scramble for shit to talk about.
The last shot was good. We're done talking about this movie. It's 1 star. Let's just jump to it. Does it belong in the chronic canon?
Absolutely.
No.
Let's be blunt.
Let's be blunt.
It's
terrible.
It's really, really bad.
1 star.
Marty, what are you doing?
1 star movie.
Thus far,
it
2
changes.
for 2.
It does not belong.
Apparently, the shift is made. I have not seen Mean Streets, the film we are about to go watch, but I am quite excited.
According to Jesse, after this movie came out, a really prominent director, John Cassavetes, walked up to Scorsese and went, "Gabagool, you made a bad movie, kid."
No, actually, the quote was he hugged Scorsese and pulled him back and said, "Marty, you just spent a year of your life making a piece of shit."
You piece of shit.
You piece of shit. Hey, roll credits.
A year and a half of your life making a piece of shit.
Yes.
Scorsese
So then
went,
He said just
he urged him to make something personal. He said, make something that's you. This isn't you, buddy.
Yeah.
Make something that's you.
And then he made Mean Streets.
Year later. Came out a year after.
Yep.
There was 1 year between Boxcar Bertha and
Whereas
Mean
there's
Streets.
5 between Who's That Knocking at My Door
Couldn't get the
and
job.
Boxcar Bertha.
So
But
thank God for Boxcar
also,
Bertha.
again, though, just want to say, as a guy that like hopefully will make movies professionally in some capacity one day, that gives me hope.
You will.
Look at that. Look at that, man. Look
can
at
do it.
Martin Scorsese. Thank you, first of all. You too. Absolutely, you too. You could if you wanted to,
you
Brandon.
both will.
Thanks, man. But yeah, you can be that bad at first.
you
You know,
gotta
like
learn.
it's okay. You
Well,
don't have to be Orson
okay.
Welles. You don't have to be
Hold on.
Xavier Dolan.
Real quick fucking sidebar of all fucking sidebars. Unfortunately, I think now you kind of do to make movies that aren't huge successes.
You just got to be Ari Aster.
That's what I mean. Out the gate, you got to be swinging.
Yeah.
Like that's Hereditary is like equivalent, more like Taxi Driver, right? In that like level of skill. It feels way more like Mean Streets is still sloppy.
I think if anything,
But it's great.
If we're directly comparing to Scorsese, then yeah, probably Taxi Driver. And I
But
haven't
my
seen Alice
point-
Doesn't Live Here anymore either. So maybe
My
it's-
point is like I feel like nowadays to get a movie of notary to continue a career doing what you want, where you're not compromising in some way, you have to have a higher skill and output out the gate than you used to.
yeah.
But not that many people had the opportunities back then to even try and fuck up, and we have more opportunities now to try and fuck up.
Well,
It's
the
a
difference
weird balance
the difference
of like,
is their fuck ups got seen.
Right.
Ours just won't get seen.
you'll never get seen, and you might not get the second fuck up.
Yeah.
Where back then you clearly had multiple fuck ups.
Yeah.
Some people go fucking 10 movies before it's like, oh, I figured out how to make a movie.
Yeah.
Now you can't really do that.
Yeah.
You gotta have some like baseline, like, bruh, you gotta, this ain't watchable.
Yeah.
You ain't getting round 2. I have a question that
What's
I
your
wrote
question?
down. What is it that appeals to, I'd say us as a friend group for sure, and also other people, like crime films, right?
Uh-huh.
Like, why are crime films so appealing? Because this one is so unappealing, even though it's technically doing all the same things, right? So it's like, okay, clearly this one's not as interesting. It doesn't grab you as much. It has no characters, no personality, no specifics. It's meandering, whatever. Like, beyond that, it's like, it just got me thinking, like, what does draw you into the crime film then? Because it's obviously not the baseline, like, oh, I'm a person on the run and I'm killing and I'm stealing. And it's not that primal.
I think it
Ness
ties
to it.
into a movie we talked about last week, Zodiac, probing at that idea of why are we fascinated by something as dark as the Zodiac Killer, or
Right.
something like that, right? It's because it's so foreign, because it's so unattainable in the sense that like we could never imagine what it is like to be capable of doing something that the Zodiac Killer does. And
Oh,
like
definitely.
also going into a murder investigation, all that stuff. That's not something that your average Joe is like participating in day to day. And I would say that all of us fall under the category of average Joes. Same thing goes with the crime film. The idea
I'd be
is
down.
that you get
Fuck
to experience this side of life that you hear about through the periphery of story and history, but seeing it exhibited in movies that like Heat, that put you right in the center of it, that make it feel palpable and tangible. To go back to a Scorsese thing, it's like going on a theme park ride, but the only thing is it's more genuine because it's coming from a place that's in reality and important that to understand to a degree. You know, like for instance, to bring up Heat, they use that sequence and the shootout as like a training video for
Of how to reload your gun.
Yeah.
I found out that's what it is.
while participating in gun
Combat.
like
Yeah.
combat.
Yeah.
I would argue or just say that the opposite could perhaps be said about why we like these crime and these thrillers. I think it's a little bit of the familiarity, the knowing, and not necessarily the wanting when it comes to like the Zodiac Killer and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I think more so with like these crime movies where people are kind of taking their lives into their own hands and doing what they want and like seemingly getting what they want from it. There's that allure that, you know, it's like the common man wants to, you know, commit a crime one day and like, you know, get some money,
Yeah.
make off well.
So we're attracted mostly when it comes to it's the money. Money is the target. Money is the thing. It's not so much when it's like the person's the target or like.
Is it the idea of capitalism?
No,
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily even say that because like the Zodiac's not about money, and plenty of people today are
but again,
still
I think it's interesting.
Well,
I want to real quick. This point does tie into what we're doing, so hold all thoughts real fast. Like The Irishman being a movie that's criticized for like why should we want to follow Frank Sheeran? Why should we want to follow this cold, sadistic sociopath who we have no empathy for or whatever? But
because he's just a union worker.
But also, I just want to say like. I don't know what this says about me necessarily, but like I empathized with that character on first watch of the movie. And I think that that's just by design of The Irishman, though. I think you're supposed to. But I think that ties into this point that it's using crime as a metaphorical tool, like for things that people in everyday life, your average Joe, do deal with day to day. Like even like the emotional things, the dynamic of relationships and family and friends and like all that other stuff. I mean, that's like why, like Heat and Godfather and Goodfellas and all those movies work is because these are these tight-knit groups and that, have this rhythm and this, authenticity to them that make you so like, oh, yes, I love this.
To bridge the two that were brought up, at least, I guess that's what I was wondering the distinction of. Like, the fascination with crime is more so the outcome, where the fascination with something like Zodiac, it's not, at least for me personally, I don't find the Zodiac fascinating as the human serial killer. I find fascinating the way people try to respond to that, like, as a mythologize or like as a community or even a country, whatever, how we as humans socially respond to that, and then also how police respond to that. Like the investigation is interesting.
Oh,
but that relates to
the film's a newspaper movie.
That's how. I realize
it's not a serial. That's Fincher himself says that it's not a serial killer movie. It's a newspaper movie. Definitely. It's all about the investigative process and the ideas of obsession. And, but that can be applied to literally anything.
Right, and that's where these all come together. It's the elements that you can relate to on a day to day, where it's like
exaggerated by this genre.
Right. Serial killer himself is not the thing that is relatable on the day to day, but the fear of death is something that is relatable day to day.
The fear of an unknown evil.
Right. Something that can change in a moment. A boogeyman. Even, I don't get with that as much.
The boogeyman more going to the idea of the...
But the boogeyman who's real. It's the real life
person. The idea of like... from a child's perspective too, though. Like the idea
we're not
of
children.
I know, but I'm saying that... Never mind. Forget that.
I know what you're getting at.
Yes.
It's the things that become relatable. So like crime's always presented as the solution to get away. It's a quick fix.
Yeah.
Crime's a quick fix, but it always pays.
Yeah.
Baby. I was just curious because this is a movie that should, by all check boxes, tickle our fancies.
I think that,
like it should. Boxcar Bertha when I say this film.
Yes.
And it didn't.
It's all about the execution that goes to prove,
Yeah, for sure. And I think that a thing that a lot of the crime movies that we do care about on both sides, whether it be from the police perspective or the criminal's perspective, is it's a people thing. It's about who's involved rather than what the crime is. If you told me about Good Time and you told me it was just about a kid and his brother trying to rob a bank, I wouldn't really care. But getting to know Connie, getting to know his relationship with his brother, fuck Connie. But I care about that movie and I want to see him succeed and I want to see it play out. Same with the Zodiac.
He just had to turn himself in.
That's all it was.
If he cared about his brother,
he would have done it.
But that's not a spoiler.
No,
it's just a fact.
And I think even with Heat, De Niro is not a good guy by any means, but you see him. You see him, and you want him to succeed. At the same time, you want Pacino to succeed, and they are on opposite ends.
Let's just watch Heat.
You're supposed to pick one. That's like the point, but it's the people. And I think Boxcar Bertha fails to make you care about.
Well, it's about humanity.
Person. Yeah.
Well, there was no humanity to these characters in Boxcar Bertha.
No, they were characters in a movie. And
Yeah.
you could
So
tell.
is that the difference? It's finding the
I do think it's a
relatable
character.
bone. So it's not just crime films. Period. It's
I mean,
it's a genre that often does it.
Yeah.
But not every crime film is automatically.
I think
appealing.
art
Well, it's
itself
like how-
is something you need, like that reflects upon you. You know, like most of the art you consume, and whether it be like music or visual art or movies or whatever
Yeah.
it may be, you are looking at it, and if you like it, it's because in some way, shape, or form, it's a reflection of you.
Yeah.
If you see nothing of yourself or even anyone you know in a movie, you're not gonna enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boxcar Bertha sucks. Has
Boxcar
anybody
Bertha
watched
sucks.
anything that doesn't suck lately?
You did see In the Realm of the Senses in theaters recently.
Oh, I can talk about.
I know we
In the
briefly
Realm
talked about that, I
of
think, in the last
Senses.
episode, our experience seeing that movie together.
we
But
did.
did you talk much about how you felt?
Karega Shinu. I don't remember.
He's about to spoil the movie if you haven't seen In the Realm of the Senses.
For any of our listeners that speaks Japanese, suimasen. I don't remember my phrase that I wrote down. Either way, I did see In the Realm of the Senses. The venue was pretty cool. It was called the Film Lab. It was in Hamtramck. It was like a bar as well as like a theater. But the way they had it set up, it was cool. It was very cozy. It's like a home theater sort of situation. And they had like tables and obviously a bar.
Yeah.
But they made it pretty easy for you to like order
Themed
yourself
drinks.
a drink, have a good time. Themed drinks for the movie. And they were very accommodating. So you could like be at a bar and also watch a movie. And it felt like you were in both places. I enjoyed that.
I don't know if I told you this, Frank. It kind of operates like Alamo Draft House does, where they have like a little card holder and pads, paper.
It's very
You
efficient.
can write, I want a refill, want a new drink, want a snack, you know, fuck you, something like that, whatever you want to say. Like,
Imagine just picking up a fucking fuck you. All right, well, I can't do anything.
I just made
for
you walk
there.
all the way over here. Sorry.
You're welcome.
But
Now, as for the film itself, In the Realm of the Senses, it's a Japanese movie. Apparently, it's pretty like famous. I didn't know that beforehand.
well, it's very infamous.
It's infamous, infamous, if you will. That means that it was not out of famous.
All right, enough.
Either way, it's a movie with simulated sex, but that's, I think, the least important part of the movie.
What's the most important part?
The most important part of the movie is the relationship between the two main characters whose names I can't remember.
Well, Sada Abe is the character. Is one of them. I can't remember what the other character's name is.
The man?
Yeah, no, I can't remember his name.
Well, the relationship between Sada and her master, if you will, because she does start the movie off working.
She does
for the
work
dude,
for him.
and which has some weird implications. But by the end of the movie, you know she was fucking into it.
Well, but I mean, he again, Oshima, the director, has said that it's not
It's
a
not.
sexual film
It's not a
or
sexual
a obscene pornographic film. It is a political film.
by the time that movie ended, I definitely I viewed things a little differently, especially how I view like sex and nudity and stuff in cinema. I think that we've put like way too much of a hold on it, like even like way worse now.
Well, I just find it interesting how, like, because I've seen a couple of movies in theaters that feature unsimulated sex as well as just graphic sex, you know? And I mean, it is very just odd to sit in a room full of strangers watching, you know, that very private act, obviously. But with a movie like In the Realm of the Senses, where it is just like every scene is a sex scene. Like, it's just bombarding you with just graphic sex scenes left and right to the point where, like, pretty quickly you're used to it.
You become numb to cum.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I mean, like, they do stretch it to some crazy places, like, towards the end. Like, they keep building, like, on the intensity of it.
Just keep building it, you know?
Just keep building it. Angelo Badalamenti quote. Well, David Lynch quote being quoted by Angelo Badalamenti.
Twice over.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a pretty intense movie. But I will say, I do think that it has one of the best, like, endings of all time.
The ending is crazy.
The
Also
entire movie building up to that is wild.
I did enjoy the score. The score did pretty good.
If it was a score, I don't. Was it a
Doesn't
score?
what counts as a score? I just kind of say that for music and movies. Is that wrong?
Well, soundtrack is music that's not written by a specific person for the film. Oh, there was a composer credited for In the Realm of the Senses. So
All right,
yes,
cool. I was right this time. Best believe I'm gonna be wrong in the future, folks.
glad you
I
liked
mean,
the
I
score.
get that shit wrong all the time.
Glad you like the score.
But that's enough about In the Realm of the Senses. What about you guys? What have you seen or watched? Or fuck you. What have you seen?
Just this guy.
Well, I'm bummed to say that there's really only been one movie that I've watched over the last week that I would deem great, and that doesn't include the shorts Goldman vs. Silverman and
yeah, that was good.
What Did Jack Do?
I haven't watched that yet.
I might touch on that briefly, but
you get one.
I
did this last week.
I did
You
go
get
see
one.
Greta Gerwig's Little Women in theaters, and I was shocked by how much I loved it. Thought it was incredible, and I was only shocked because, well, one, I was not a very big fan of Lady Bird, and two, I like the story of Little Women, just at its base, vague log line that I'd heard in passing over the years. Because for the record, I've never read the novel. Or seen any of the incarnations of Little Women's, like the films, or any play or musical, because I know there's a famous musical as well. But I would say that in the rare case that the new beats out the old in my eyes, I would imagine that any adaptation of this could not be as good as the way Gerwig presents it, because I know I mentioned to you, Frank, that I thought that the star of the new Little Women is the screenplay and the structure that Gerwig applies to the narrative. And I've seen a lot of people say that it's really confusing and like jarring and hard to follow, but I don't know. And again, this is kind of why I said to you, like, maybe I let the charm of the movie and just the sweetness and the tenderness and the warmth of it, like, just wrap me up in this blanket of like put some wool over my eyes, as you might say, like, in the sense that there may be more flaws than I, saw this past viewing. Who knows? Because I'm not really sure how it'll play on rewatch. I think certain moments from it will be like really emotional, just knowing everything that happens. Because again, was not antiquated with any of the familiar beats. Talked about this movie with a few people, and everyone's like, "Oh, that part, this part," as if like they're so familiar because it's so ingrained in the culture. And that made me feel bad, frankly, that I wasn't as familiar. But the narrative going in that completely sort of what's the word for it? Following that sort of memory logic, as if it's like in real time, someone just sort of experiencing life, having a memory, and then living out that memory for a second, and then going back to reality and cutting back and forth. But even still, there isn't a linear narrative reality going on. Like even moments in the quote, there's never a present day. Everything is presented as memory. I think
there is the present,
or just presented at, well. I mean, by the end, I guess you could say whatever point.
No, there definitely is.
What?
Joe's whole coming home.
Yeah, but I mean, like, that's present day, I guess, in terms of if you look at the structure of the novel.
And then where it ends. Yeah, that's the present day.
But I don't think that plays out linearly through the movie, right? Like, it doesn't keep just cutting back and forth like flashback.
It kind of does. And I didn't even realize that until just now.
I think it's a bit more staggered than that. I don't think it's as, like...
Maybe you both should just go see it again with me.
Yeah,
maybe this man need to see it again.
Yeah.
But
I think Lady Bird's
regardless, to go on about the feel of the movie, like I said, all those adjectives I put out earlier definitely apply to the movie, and I thought Florence Pugh's performance was incredible.
The best.
She's 9.
Definitely deserving.
No, she's like 13.
Is that at one point is she 9?
I don't think so, because the first title card said 7 years earlier.
Yeah.
And when she's older, she's 20.
Okay, and also I thank you for bringing this up, just because I wanted to point out it ties in even with a little bit with The Irishman.
Oh, wait, but then she gets a little older. I actually
she's
think
in her 20s by the end.
I know, but I think she's older than 20 by the very end, which would be the 7 years earlier. So actually, I think... No, but they come home when she's Paris. She's 13. She's 13... at her youngest.
Okay.
Sorry. I did the math. I was like, wait, people are wrong. She's not that young. She's 13.
But anyway.
Maybe she is that young, and I'm wrong.
I like The Irishman has this in the sense that De Niro, Pacino, and Pesci are all playing characters like through entire lifespans, and I buy every second of it, de-aging or not. Like, I probably would have bought it just because they're so good. And the same goes for Little Women in the way that they do not use other actors to play the younger versions of these characters and then evolve them into Florence Pugh or Saoirse Ronan. They just perform the parts so well at every stage of these characters' lives that you buy it. And it just works. And I think that's incredibly impressive because that's something that really is only ever accomplished like nearly every time with theater, because you can give it that leeway because there's already that artifice that much more present in front of you in a theater. Not a movie theater, rather. But yeah, Little Women was great. Everyone should go see it while it's still in theaters. Cried 3 times.
Yeah. Laura Dern rules.
Laura Dern also rules.
Yeah. Give her
Marriage Story, she's very good, but
she's great even.
yeah.
Like
I only
great.
say very good by comparison to Little Women because it's just
magic.
It's just this is why we love the Dern.
Yeah.
Is Meryl Streep
This is what the Dern does best.
Does she do good?
Yeah.
Well,
She's good.
the Streep is always
Yeah,
good.
the Streep's always good.
The Streep was always good.
I like Meryl Streep.
I mean, like literally.
There's
though,
just a
she's-
dash of Streep. It's good.
Yeah, she's
She's
not
in
in
just
much.
enough.
There's a dash of Watson. More of a dash. More than
There's
a
a dash of Cooper.
Oh,
He's
and I
Don't
almost don't want to
spoil
spoil
it.
it.
It's so
because
weird.
it's so good.
I want to see it.
Yeah, it's great.
Do it.
Just I don't
Do
know. You guys got to get me over this barrier of like watching and seeing movies alone.
Yeah, well, honestly, I don't know if I would have liked Little Women as more if other people were present. And then, because I do know that just after a movie, when somebody doesn't like it vehemently or has an opinion that's a little lesser than yours, like, it's easy to, like, fall into that seeing more flaws when people are pointing them out. And it's much nicer when you walk out of a movie seeing it by yourself, like, even if you do inevitably go back and not like it at nearly as much as you did the first time you saw it, but being able to luxuriate in that, solely your unadulterated opinion and not having anything else funneled through immediately, just being able to wallow in your own thoughts. And I think it provides the maximum element of escapism because it's literally like entering a zone by yourself.
If there's one thing I can get down with, it's escapism, Jesse.
Oh yeah. We all need
That
to escape
being
this
said,
hellhole.
I think being friends with who I am, that being Frank and Jesse. This is Brandon, by the way.
I'm Frank.
I'm Jesse.
Being friends with who I am friends with, very often do I have different opinions. Not, all right, I won't say very often because we've reached a sort of equilibrium for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes we'll go and we'll see a movie or we'll watch a flick, and my opinion is vastly different. And because I just know, just like inherently, that they know more about movies than me, I get swayed. And then I get mad at myself for getting swayed because then I don't know what's fact or what's just like
our influence.
Well, see, well, that's why I always
influence. So maybe I need to start seeing films more on my own to develop my own opinion so I can engage in conversation with you guys.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah.
Come get any of my Blu-rays anytime.
I don't know, man. You live so far away.
Oh no, Ching, this is awful.
What about you, Frank?
I'm not even fucking The Silence of the Lambs. I rewatched Silence of the Lambs and
Again?
It fucking rules. No, a few weeks ago.
Okay.
I'm going back. I'm having a back catalog of things I can recommend. Silence of the Lambs rules. I've seen it a million times. That's not true, but I've seen it a bunch of times a long time ago. First time I loved it. If you haven't watched it in a while, you should. Love Manhunter. It is better. They're completely different movies. Don't be dumb like I was. They're both amazing. That's it. That's all I want to say.
When you're saying that Silence of the Lambs is better than Manhunter.
No. I'm sorry. Manhunter is better than Silence of the Lambs, but they're completely different movies accomplishing different things in different ways. Like 100%, not even close to the same thing.
But can you please state your recasting couch, if you will?
Oh, I mean, this is like, oh my god, this is
Dreamcast?
like no.
So
there was.
That's
I'm trying to remember who it was that originally Demi wanted for the role.
Jonathan Demme, director of Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, wanted for the role of Clarice, who eventually Jodie Foster got it, and I guess she was fighting for it from the beginning.
Jodie Foster was?
Yeah, which gave her big points later.
Gotcha.
But I'm not going to remember all three. There was 3 people Demi wanted, and they all turned it down. Michelle Pfeiffer was definitely one of them. And now I cannot for the life of me remember the other 2. There are people in the same caliber as Pfeiffer. Oh my god, who was it? It's going to drive me nuts. I'm not about to find this. I don't give a shit. So 3 people were offered the role, and they all turned it down. And then Demi got Laura Dern, and she was on board. And then when they brought Dern to the studio said no, or the producers, or whoever was in charge. Though I think it was Orion. They turned down Dern, but that could have been Silence of the Lambs if the studio didn't deny it. And that would have been coming off the heels of Wild at Heart. And that, I just like, Jodie Foster's amazing. Have you seen Silence of the Lambs?
I have not seen Silence of the
You
Lambs.
need to.
I don't know who Laura Dern or Jodie Foster are.
Oh my god! Write it down.
Unreal. Don't know who Laura Dern is?
Jodie Foster is more surprising, honestly. You know who Jodie Foster is. I mean, we're gonna look at one fucking picture, and you're gonna be like, "Oh, Jodie Foster." It's fine.
Wait, is that the one that they fucked up? Hollywood?
I mean,
Hollywood fucked up a lot of people, man. Who do you mean?
Is
Like,
Jodie Foster Wizard of Oz?
That's
no,
Jodie.
I'm
That's
gonna
Judy
throw
Garland.
up. Stop. Just let me finish. Jodie Foster.
For the record, that wasn't a bit. I was legit
Brandon,
asking.
if we ever
We
get to a
gotta
point
end
where we
this
record
podcast.
over a year from now or like 2 years, I want to show you that moment and see how you feel about it.
Jodie Foster is amazing in Silence of the Lambs. She just is. She's just as good as Hopkins, who is also amazing. Easy to take for granted, both of them. But I can imagine this alternate universe where Laura Dern is playing Clarice, and the movie is just that much better.
I agree.
She
I want
just
to see
like
that movie.
I can picture it. I'm like, you were made for that,
Yeah.
Laura. You were made for it. It's fucked.
And I
They
also
didn't
think
want to tarnish her like good girl image, even though she was fucking. Well, it doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense.
And you're in. I mean, like she's definitely the good girl of Blue Velvet,
that's,
but
I
like,
mean, that's
what
her
the
whole
fuck?
image, just like
Yeah.
the pure innocent, blah.
Yeah.
And like Clarice can't be that.
Oh wait,
intensely.
is Laura Dern the girl who plays Laura Palmer?
No, that's Cheryl Lee.
We're getting out of this podcast. Does anybody have anything else they want to say?
I got nothing.
I've had.
I'm very excited to watch Mean
Well,
Streets.
okay. I thought you had nothing.
That's all I said. And with that,
Hold on. What do you got?
I was just gonna say that I had a good time, and thanks for tuning in.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Please listen. Keep listening. Chronic Canon. I'm Frank.
I'm Jesse.
Brandon,
We're
signing
done.
off.
We're done. Goodbye. No.